We're back with another episode of It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, and we got a dinosaur story for you today. My name is Patrick, and if you thought that intro was the easiest possible intro I could do for this episode, you're right.
I'm Drumarts.
And I'm Lugia.
I don't like to take the easy route, but I really have
I'm
nothing.
Dromasaurus Rex. Anyway, yeah, so just some, I guess, brief news before we go into it. A bunch of people passed away. Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens passed away. Probably best known for Pee Wee Herman. So rest in peace. I'm not too familiar with any of Pee Wee Herman's stuff, but still a shame.
I wish I
Angus Cloud.
was, because the only thing I really know him for was the drug PSA.
Yeah.
The most I know of
This is
him,
crack cocaine.
is "Where's my bike?"
I know that the Tim Burton movie is apparently like really good, so like I guess I'll watch that one day. But yeah,
I've never seen it.
it's Burton's first film, it seems.
That I knew. I've never seen it.
Angus Cloud also passed away. Angus Cloud is he played a character in the Euphoria show. Very young, died at 25, I believe, which is damn shame. It's always kind of a tragedy when someone so young passes. Mark Margolis, Hector Salamanca. Well, he actually played a lot of characters. He was in Scarface, but he's best known for playing Hector Salamanca in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He passed away. So yeah, rest in peace, Mark Margolis. It's a lot of good actors died. That's really all I have for news. I don't really have much else this week.
I don't have much to say.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
All right. So, dinosaur time?
Yeah.
All right. So, we're back. A Dinosaur Story is loosely based on the children's book of the same name by Hudson Talbot, and it has a whopping 4 directors. Phil Niblink, who we previously talked about with Romeo and Juliet Sealed with a Kiss. Simon Wells, who would go on to direct Balto, and he would be one of the, I believe, 3 directors on The Prince of Egypt, so that's something. And brothers Dick and Ralph Zondag, who, after this, wouldn't really do much directing. In fact, the only movie that Ralph would direct after this was Disney's Dinosaur, so I guess dude likes his dinosaur movies. And this has a pretty impressive cast, actually a weirdly impressive cast. We got John Goodman, Charles Fleischer, Kenneth Mars, Yardley Smith, Martin Short, Jay Leno, Rhea Perlman, Walter Cronkite, and Julia Child. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But as much as I'd love to go into the production of this movie, it's a long story, and there's an excellent YouTube video by Ariana Alexis that goes into way more detail than I could. We'll probably have a link to that in the description, but here's the short version. The rights to make a film based on We're Back, A Dinosaur Story were first purchased by Hanna-Barbera when the book was published. Then Spielberg bought them because his son was a fan of the book, and it was put into development at his studio Amblimation around the time when their first movie, Fievel Goes West, was in the middle of production. And the directors of that film were also Phil Niblink and Simon Wells, so they had double duty with this and Fievel Goes West. And originally, the script for the film was written by the same guy who wrote Fievel Goes West, but Spielberg didn't like it, so he replaced him with someone else. And while Spielberg liked this new version of the script, Phil and Simon did not. They thought it was very slow-paced, and that the dialogue was kind of stilted, and it didn't make much sense. But the new screenwriter's contract allowed him more control than anyone else, and he didn't want any changes made to the script. So they tried to compromise by having the actors read the lines as it was written and then livening it up with other takes. But when the screenwriter found out about this, he demanded that they use the original stilted dialogue that he wrote. And once Fievel Goes West finished production, you'd think they could focus specifically on We're Back, right? Not exactly, because after Fievel Goes West was done, Phil and Simon were put on to direct that animated Cats movie that never happened. So they had to leave We're Back and were replaced with Ralph and Dick Zondag to take over production duties. But then when Cats was put on hold, Simon would leave to start working on Balto, and Phil would come back to finish We're Back. So you kind of have 4 cooks in this kitchen working on like 3 different movies at once, so yeah, a bit of a mess, wouldn't you say?
I think the 4 directors starts to make more sense when you think about it now.
Yeah. Again, there's more detail, but I'm not going into that. But I do have some fun facts. So, following poor test screenings, the producers edited the film to be less scary, including adding in that one musical number during the parade scene. And also, they completely revamped the villain, Captain Screw Eyes. Because, fun fact, you think the cast is star studded now? Captain Screw Eyes was originally voiced by John Malkovich.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he recorded all the dialogue, but he left the project when they heard they were going to edit down the film. And they wanted to replace him with Christopher Lloyd, but he was unavailable, so they got Kenneth Mars instead.
Okay, the character for him and the other guy, I forgot his name, but you know the one that looks like him? Yeah.
Captain New Eyes.
He looked like he would be voiced by Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, I definitely like, because the old man time traveler thing is very reminiscent of Back to the Future, and Back to the Future was produced by Amblin, so you'd think so.
I have one more fun fact about the voice talents. So, as stated before, Walter Cronkite and Julia Child, two iconic 20th century figures, are in this movie. You know how they got in?
How?
Our good friend Phil Nibelink. During storyboarding, he would mimic their voices, and Spielberg thought it was so funny he decided to actually get those people for the movie.
Oh,
Huh.
okay.
As a promotion for the film, an actual balloon of Rex was made and featured in that year's Macy's Thanksgiving parade. In the middle of said parade, the head popped. The rest of the balloon was fine, just the head popped, and they continued walking it with a deflated head.
Foreshadowing.
Anyway,
I mean, the show must go on.
it must.
It's we're back, not we're gone.
We're Back, a Dinosaur Story, released in November 1993, just 5 months after Jurassic Park, and it was advertised as the more family-friendly alternative. But it didn't reach nearly the same success as Jurassic Park, whereas that film was critically acclaimed and became the highest-grossing film at that point. We're Back received mixed reviews and only made $9.3 million against a $20 million budget, so major box office bomb. And none of
I
us
guess
had
you
ever
can
seen this
say
movie.
They weren't back.
They came and they went.
So none of us had ever seen this movie prior to this point, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
I was like loosely familiar with it because Nostalgia Critic made a video about it years back. Actually like saw a little bit of the video before or earlier today just to refresh myself, and it was really weird because he was doing a Hunter S. Thompson impression the entire time. I don't know why.
When did the
But
video come out?
it was one of his earlier videos. I don't know, it was kind of funny, but like it was still like I don't know why he made that choice, but it's a funny choice, so whatever.
I have not seen the Doug Walker video, but this is a movie. I told you guys, this is just a movie that has randomly come up on the internet from time to time for some reason. And I never really paid it much mind, but then when I found out that our good boy Phil Nibelink directed it, I kind of got curious.
Wait,
so.
who is even talking about this movie?
I don't know. This is just a weird movie that's come up from time to time. I can't explain it. Speaking of things I can't explain, should we actually jump in?
Sure.
All right. So, plot synopsis. How do I word this? All right. Just bear with me here, audience. So, the plot of We're Back, a Dinosaur Story is that a scientist from the future has made a fortune with a cereal that makes everybody smart. So he decides to give back to humanity by granting wishes. So he goes back in time to the Jurassic era with the help of his alien apprentice, and they feed 4 dinosaurs his cereal so that they have human-level intelligence. And then he drops them in 1993 New York City because a bunch of kids in that location wish that dinosaurs were real. And as we said, he wants to grant wishes, so here you go. He instructs the dinosaurs to go to the Museum of Natural History, but they get sidetracked along the way when they meet a boy and a girl running away from their respective homes to join a circus run by a man with a screwdriver for an eye. And here we have our first problem. So this isn't a plot. This is the outcome of a game of Mad Libs.
Why would he just leave the dinosaurs to their own devices when they just gained intelligence and they're still learning things about the world? Well, first off, let me backtrack there real quick. He drops them off from the sky, doesn't even land the ship for them. He drops them off, he gives them backpacks with parachutes, and he just drops them. I don't think they're supposed to even know what a parachute is.
Hey, he says, yeah, don't step on anybody. Pushes them out of a fucking spaceship.
I'd love a pair of shoes.
On their own. Sure, he did tell them to wait for that woman, but there are dinosaurs in a new location. I think they're going to be curious.
What woman?
The woman who was putting up posters throughout the movie.
The one for the Museum of Natural History, wink.
She
Oh right, yeah. I completely forgot about her. I think it's funny that she put like one of the posters on one of the dinosaurs, and like nobody was like, "Oh right, her." Like, everyone just kind of forgot.
She
Oh
only
well.
shows up in like 3 scenes.
Yeah, basically just the parade scene and
At the
the
beginning, when
end.
she first gets to the pier, then she's during the parade scene, and during the chase
That's
scene,
it.
and then at
Yeah.
the end.
The chase and the parade scene are like basically the same scene because like it's like right after.
Yeah,
Anyway,
thoughts?
this is a very difficult movie to talk about because there's so much that happens that you would think would be interesting conceptually, but it's just like in the most generic way possible, so it's just painfully boring.
Yeah, from the plot synopsis, this movie sounds like batshit fun, but it's not. It's not fun.
It
Like
lacks the motivation and the
it's in,
confidence to make it interesting.
it's just incredibly like what bothers me is that so like 90s, like the way it tries to be like cool is like it's the most like generic 90s stereotype way of being cool. It's like it's just everything is like feels passe, and they
It's
don't
either
do anything like particularly interesting to, like make it stand
it's
out.
either
Like
t-
this is
it's either too slow, too fast, and that's weird because this movie is barely over an hour long. So like so
yeah,
much
it's
because so much nonsense. There is so much filler in this movie.
yeah. The copy we saw was buffering at like about like 20 minutes in, and we were like surprised that only that 20 minutes passed because it was not much happens.
I mean,
But anyway.
you look at stuff like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or the Rugrats movies. Yeah, they're also very convoluted and so much happens, but they have energy to them.
Yeah, this does have like an energy to it, but like I said, it's just such a generic way. Like the designs, the animation, it's all
In
generic. I'm
parts, it
speaking.
does, but not the whole picture.
Um,
Like if you look at the
speaking of the
background
animation,
elements, they look
yeah,
very stilted.
yeah, that's a weird thing with the animation. Their compositing was really weird. Where like the backgrounds and like the foregrounds, they very rarely like really gel together. They feel like kind of like separate planes. They clearly just tell it's kind of like pasted over rather than more competent films where like it actually like feels like
And some of the
they're
faces look
put
just
together.
odd,
Yeah.
especially during the crowd scenes. Like
Yeah, it's
I get they're extras, but at the same time,
yeah, like the animation is better than Sealed with a Kiss, but like it's still very reminiscent.
So going
Uh,
in, I thought this was going to be a musical because when I looked it up on Google, they had a track list of the songs. There was only one
yeah,
song in this movie.
yeah. I think you might have just accidentally looked at like the soundtrack slash
yeah,
score
like
and you got
the score.
confused.
Yeah, it is the score. But
To be fair,
with
you
names
continue.
like Welcome to New York, Flying Forward in Time, Hot Pursuit, those sound like they would be musical numbers.
No, that's actually pretty normal for score names, honestly.
Yeah.
I think you just got confused, man.
To be real though, like the song sequence during the parade is like one of the better parts of the movie.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's
It's
probably the
probably the
best part of the
strongest
movie.
one.
Yeah.
And it's a
The
catchy song
parade scene
too.
was kind of weird. The parade scene was kind of interesting just because they had like a bunch of pop culture characters. So like at one point like the dinosaur like gets on top of Spider-Man and starts like riding him, and it's kind of weird actually. It kind of looks like he's doing like sexual things to him, but it's still, it's kind of cool just seeing Spider-Man there and Snoopy and Woody Woodpecker and whatnot. I'm assuming they got all that because of like Spielberg's clout or whatever the company that distributed it was or produced it
So,
was.
like technicality, this is actually a Thanksgiving movie.
Yes, which how many Thanksgiving movies are there? There's Spider-Man, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I guess this is what, number 3, the third Thanksgiving movie.
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah, sure, that counts. Okay, not many Thanksgiving movies, so I guess you can say this is definitely the second best, third best. James and Giant Peach is, I think that's Thanksgiving. Third best animated Thanksgiving movie.
Here's a random question. It has nothing to do with the movie, but what is a movie you associate with a holiday despite it having nothing to do with the holiday?
I heard.
Um, I mean, it has a little to do with the holiday.
Well, it
I would
takes place
say
on Christmas, but there's nothing Christmassy about it.
there's a lot of, like, I guess random horror movies. I guess kind of, you obviously think of Halloween a little bit, even if it doesn't really have much to do with Halloween.
This is
Let's
gonna
see.
sound weird, but I associate Osmosis Jones with Christmas.
Really?
Just
Hmm.
because in high school one year, right before, like a day before Christmas break, my science teacher put it on, and that was like the first
Hmm.
time I ever saw that movie. So I don't know, it just stuck with me as Christmas time.
It makes sense.
I mean, I guess the Spider-Man movies are something I associate with Thanksgiving, even though like
The
only
first one has
movie
a
really
Thanksgiving scene.
Yeah, the first movie was a Thanksgiving scene, but like the others don't. But I still consider Spider-Man 2 to be a kind of Thanksgiving vibes, just because something cozy about it.
There were also a lot of balloons of other properties. I saw Snoopy, Clifford the Big Red Dog, Woody, Woodpecker.
Yeah.
And Woodstock was there with Snoopy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
In
what's
the
funny?
in the background, you can see a Jurassic Park poster too,
Well,
or like
It's
at the
like they
theater,
knew.
the marquee.
I know some can just say that's like shallow advertising because Spielberg produced. I disagree because it's stated in the movie that kids right now, all the kids in the world are wishing that dinosaurs were real. And Jurassic Park was like the height of Dinomania. So you know what? I can buy it that Jurassic Park is on in this world. It is
It'd be really funny though
1993.
if Jurassic Park inexplicably bombed somehow, and then like they really want to hit. But yeah,
So going back to the technicals for a second, while we were watching this movie, I pointed out to you guys, it's weird that like hardly any of the scenes have like background music in them or sound
Yeah.
effects.
yeah,
And
like
you don't notice that stuff
there's a
until
there
it's
actually
not
is like a
there.
very faint score, but like
There is, and to be honest,
some
it's
scenes
not.
don't have it, and like some scenes are so faint you don't really hear it.
It
Some
got
scenes
to
are
a
really
point where you
cool.
had to keep like turning up the volume on the TV just to hear it.
Yeah, it was weird. I've never had to do that for a movie before.
It felt like
I mean,
it
like,
got quieter and quieter as it
yeah.
progressed.
I mean, as it goes on, I've never had to put it up because it kept getting quieter.
How bizarre! How bizarre!
How bizarre.
Did we talk about the voice cast yet?
We
We
talked about
did.
how it was.
You said you wanted to go back to that point, though?
No, I got back to it when I brought up how Walter Cronkite and Julia Child got in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought Walter Cronkite and John Goodman sounded the same, so I did not realize that it was Walter Cronkite at first. I just thought it was John Goodman doing a dual role.
Just weird. The man who announced to the nation that JFK was dead is the same man who told dinosaurs, "All right, we're going to send you to New York. Don't step on anybody." Here's the weird thing. As messy as this movie is, I can see this idea working if they tweak it around. What if instead the dinosaurs are already in the museum and they're not allowed to leave, and the only time they're allowed to go out is like during the Thanksgiving Day parade because everybody thinks they're floats or something, and
Supposed to
then
be
they
like
leave.
Hunchback of Notre Dame. Remember
Yeah,
that
so
scene of
like
Hunchback of Notre Dame? Yeah.
so you could sell me on like a like I don't know, like Night at the Museum meets Monsters Incorporated or something. I don't know. That'd be like a sweet idea.
I was thinking like there may be like some King Kong thing where like, oh, they're celebrated, but then everyone's like terrified, and then it becomes
Because
like King
dinosaurs are
Kong.
real again. We I don't think we needed like much of anything with the other guy, the Screw Eye guy.
Yeah, Screw
But
Eye.
honestly, he could have
He's
been a
gonna
cool
steal your
villain, but
kids.
he could have been a cool villain. But again, it's so disorganized that they barely do anything with him.
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh
this
shit, we
goes
completely
back.
forgot to mention the clown.
Oh yeah,
What
Martin
Forgot to
Short.
about
mention the
him?
clown.
He's there,
He's there. Yeah, Martin Short plays a clown, and
and
some of the better animation comes from him, I guess. But like
actually, let's go back to Captain Screw-Eyes for a second, because something I found that. Okay, so I said that they wanted to edit the film down to be less scary. Apparently, this involved cutting a scene where Screw-Eyes explains his backstory and what happened to his eye. You know what happened to him?
What?
What happened was, apparently he was sitting under a tree, a berry fell on his eye, and a crow pecked it out. And that's why there's crows all around him.
oh, okay, that's why like the crows kill him at the end.
That would
Yeah,
also
so
kind of make a little more sense why the crow hits the flare button. A little bit more sense. I guess the crows
was
are
a
just
crow?
a dick to him. Yeah.
Okay,
and like I get
animals just hate him.
I get wanting to tone down your kids' movie so it's not too scary, but I mean, but you gotta have a little bit of some fucked up stuff in your kids' movie.
He was still eaten alive by crows, Vulcan Raven style.
Like I can tell you, the ending of Who Framed Roger Rabbit scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah, you need to show kids Return to Oz again.
Come on, you gotta have some fun scaring your kids. Like not too much, but like a little bit.
If anything, I'm amazed they didn't try to do anything more with him. Because the dinosaurs are told, oh, Captain Screw-Eye is the bad guy. And
Yeah,
it
the fact that
turns
they're
out
brothers, like,
he's the
I feel like
bad
that should
guy.
be-
I feel like they were gonna try going for like oh, he's just a misunderstood guy because like he's doing a horror show and people go
figured-
to horror shows for specific reasons. It's not like it's a bad thing that it exists, but no, he just fucking dies in the end.
Yeah, the relationship between Screw Eyes and New Eyes, like there needs to be something more there because it feels like there's like hardly anything. It's just established there is conflict. New Eyes wants to grant people wishes. Screw Eyes wants to bring out people's fears. You
It's
could do
not.
something with that, but
Yeah,
they don't.
it's not Screw Eye's fault that he's disabled. Like everyone's just like, oh, he got a fucked up eye, that's why he's evil. And I was like, he's just a disabled man. Like, chill on him. New Eyes is all like, oh, I got new eye. Why don't you have the same last name? You're brothers, but you know, whatever.
And how far into the future is New Eyes from? Because wouldn't he have known what would happen to his brother? Or can he go back in time and make it so his eye doesn't get, I don't know. Time travel
I
always.
say it was because of
Listen.
spite.
We are we are very desperately trying to come up with things to talk about and riff on this movie, man. There's nothing here.
There's
Absolutely nothing.
again, there's glimmers of good ideas here, but it's just all clumped together in an unfocused, unfun mess.
It's just a bore. Yeah, it's just a boring movie. There's really no reason to watch it. I mean, there's better animated movies out there. There's better Dinosaur.
It's
I mean, there's
a better Phil Niblink film.
yeah,
Actually,
That's a positive.
are there better?
Actually,
If
this
you want to
might
watch a
sound
cartoon dinosaur movie, just watch Land Before Time. Like, there's
this
no
might
reason for
sound
this.
crazy. I actually prefer Sealed with a Kiss.
I can see
You know
why,
what, yeah.
actually.
Still, the Kiss it's certainly a more unique
You can
experience.
at least admire it. Like you can see there's passion there, and it is kind of funny how this is what this man believes is the definitive version of Romeo and Juliet. So like I can laugh at it. Here I'm just like
Yeah, the story is like more competent because it is based off of like an existing story too. So there's that.
like yeah, We're Back, a Dinosaur Story on a technical level is better, but again I admire the passion of Sealed with a Kiss, even if the end result isn't that good.
We did have a lot more to say about that movie, so that's
That
also
movie,
important.
that movie drained you. You were done by the end.
I was,
Whereas-
but we had more to
whereas-
say about it.
Yeah, whereas at the end of this, we're just like,
All right, let's go. Yeah.
actually, before we officially, do we have anything else to say?
I don't think so.
I have How Bizarre stuck in my head now. The song.
Before we
Even though this
officially-
has nothing to do with the film, but it's just that's the thing.
Before we officially move on, I just want to talk about Phil for a second, our good boy Phil. So, you guys are probably wondering why the hell I came back to a film directed by him.
And you're,
Coincidence?
that's why.
I came
I thought it
back
was just a
because
coincidence.
no, it's not a coincidence. This has been on my back burner for a while. All of us here have our own thing. Lugia has Tommy Wiseau, Red has Doug Walker, I have Phil Niblink.
I thought I had Adam Sandler.
We
Two.
all have Adam Sandler. He belongs to us all. I mean, I recommended the first Adam Sandler movie, all right? So
And I have not. But Phil Niblink is just a man I am fascinated with just by the amount of projects he's worked on. Okay, remember how during Sealed with a Kiss I told you he hasn't really worked on anything substantial since?
Yeah.
That is a lie. Last year he released a new movie. You know what it was?
was it the Pinocchio movie?
No, it was that weird ass CGI Marmaduke movie.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, hearing about that.
I completely
Yeah, I
forgot
saw
about
it.
that movie.
I haven't seen
Yeah.
it, but he is one of the 3 directors on that. Dude goes completely under the radar for nearly 2 decades, then comes back with Marmaduke.
Return of the King.
Like, despite
So
what
next
we think,
week we're going to be watching Marmot now.
Despite what we think of Romeo and Juliet, Sealed with a Kiss, and We're Back, a Dinosaur Story, there is no denying that Phil has gotten himself involved in some interesting projects. He was one of the lead animators on the clock tower scene in The Great Mouse Detective, one of the first instances of CGI in a Disney movie. He was a supervising animator on Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a co-director on a dinosaur movie featuring the voices of Walter Cronkite and Julia Child, was the director of a Cats movie that never saw the light of day. He made an entire adaptation of Romeo and Juliet by himself, does nothing for nearly 20 years, then comes back with a CGI Marmaduke movie. This guy needs to write a book, because I would read that book. Phil, if you're listening to this, write a book or an article detailing your experience in the industry, please. I am
Yes.
very curious.
Yes, I know we kind of dissed you for the past however long we recorded this, but we still like you.
We
You're
like
still
you,
cool.
Phil. We like you. We are just enamored. We're just
Yeah.
well, I'm enamored. I don't know about you
He has
guys.
an interesting backstory.
He does.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we're back at Dinosaur Story. Read a plot synopsis, explain it to your friends. They'll think you were crazy.
Watch the Doug
But
Walker review, or maybe not.
yeah,
I don't know if it's good.
No, what?
there's
Yeah, it's
there's
fine.
really
It's watch the Doug Walker. Here's the thing: the Doug Walker review is really funny if you have seen, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. But if you haven't, it's not gonna make any sense. So watch Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas has nothing to do with this movie. I don't know what Doug was cooking there. It's kind of great though.
yeah. Watch that video, or hey, if anything from this movie, listen to the one musical number.
Yeah, yeah. The music it's a decent musical number.
All right. So we're gonna close the book on our good boy Phil. Will we come back to him again? Never say never.
Perhaps
It's
one
very
day.
likely.
Very likely, but not for a while.
Yeah.
But again, I waited over a year to come back to Phil. Anyway, Red, your turn.
Yeah. So I was thinking about us swinging the complete opposite direction of here. This is like a silly animated 90s movie. I was like, okay, well, and then I was trying to think of like what's like something so far out of left field, completely different from this. And I was like trying to look at, well, what's things we've done? And I've also tried to think of like, if there's anything we haven't done yet before. So we've done anime movies, we've done westerns, we've done like things from every genre. There's one type of film that we haven't seen yet, a silent film.
Huh?
Silent film.
Yeah. And I figured instead of going with the obvious direction of choosing like a comedy from like Chaplin, Keaton, or Harold Lloyd, I figured I'd go for something a bit more dramatic. So my recommendation is The Passion of Joan of Arc.
Oh, I've
Passion
seen
of-
this one.
Passion
You
of Joan
watched
of
it?
Arc.
Yeah, for a screenwriting class of all things.
1928, Passion of Joan of
Yeah,
Arc.
that's the one.
This is
1920.
not something I expected.
Jesus, we're going way back.
Yeah, I did not expect you to have seen this, Lugia. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's a French silent historical film based on the trial of the historical Joan of Arc.
Jesus
I
Christ, a
don't know.
nearly 100-year-old movie.
Yeah, I've
This is a
seen this,
first.
but I have not seen The Social Network until you made me.
All right. I was hoping that this was going to be something like none of you ever heard of, but I guess I was wrong. All right.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm still like keeping this as the recommendation.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I already have it downloaded. Like, yeah.
Have you never seen it?
Oh,
I've never seen it. No.
Wow,
I wouldn't
okay.
completely. Every once in a while, I want to do something blind, and I figured this is like a movie from 1928, so it's probably not going to like have anything that's going to like throw people off. I'm going to have to give content warnings of. I know like Joan of Arc dies because it's Joan of Arc, but
it's spoilers for history.
Go read the textbook.
Are
Read
there
the
any
manga before the
Are there any
anime.
like content warnings? Are there any like warnings I should give to people?
No. I don't think it's like very violent. At least from what I remember, it's been about a
Yeah.
year or two.
I know it's intense, but like it's nothing that I don't think should like throw off a modern audience.
No, I think you can go into this just fine.
Yeah. So next week, The Passion of Joan of Arc. Probably our oldest film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've again
We've
nearly
never
100
done a
years old.
silent film.
We've never done a movie
Yeah.
from the 1920s.
Yeah, I actually like I need to look for like a long silent film because like most silent films are actually like pretty short. So this
I'm
one is
amazed
like about
we've never done
2 hours?
Metropolis before.
Metropolis was actually my second choice. I was thinking about it's either going to be this or a Fritz Lang movie, and I figured I'd hold off on Metropolis because there's a Metropolis anime that I kind of would want to like pair up with it,
Wait, what?
and I did Rentaro. There's this legendary anime director, Rentaro, and so Osamu Tezuka, the father of anime, grandfather of anime, he made a Metropolis manga. It was actually one of his first manga. He didn't actually see the movie. He just saw a bunch of promotional stills and thought it looked cool, and then he tried to make his own thing just based off those images. And yeah, and then like in the 2000s, Rentaro, one of his proteges, made a movie, Metropolis, which is a kind of a combination of Tezuka's interpretation and the original film. And it was actually one of the first anime movies I ever saw. It means a lot to me, like just personally, and I kind of wanted to, so I figured and they're both like pretty short movies, but like I figured if we're gonna talk about Metropolis, I'll talk about it with an anime, and I just didn't feel like doing a double feature this week. So besides, I think the Fritz Lang Metropolis is how long is that? 2.5 hours.
Somewhere around there.
And Passion of Joan of Arc is like 2 hours, sub 2 hours. Thing is with like the Joan of Arc movie, with silent movies, it's kind of hard to like really gauge the time because they didn't always play them at 24 frames per second, so sometimes like it's not exactly
And you're also reading a wall of text like in between cuts.
well, I mean like the runtime is like counts everything, so like it's like 2 hours of the runtime is 2 hours, but the footage is probably like a little less because of the reading. Anyway, Passion Joan of Arc. Next week, I will probably make a couple Clone High jokes. We will see.
All right, close us out, Patrick.
And that's the way it is.